This is the story. Jesus Christ, the Messiah, the Son of God, kingdom builder, healer. He is the King of glory. He is the resurrecting Savior. They expected a conqueror, but instead they got a servant, crucified and lifted high. And the marks on his hands left us marked for salvation.
Well, we are in our fourth week here of working through this series that we call Revealed, and we have been working through the Gospel of Mark. And this week, on the weekend and even midweek, we've just been working on one single chapter, and that's chapter 8. And the central question of chapter 8 is Jesus turning to his disciples and saying, "Who do you say that I am?" And so we're going to talk a little bit more about that and some of the story that comes after that conversation that is found in chapter 8. And so this week I have Pastor Angie and Molly, our Trellis resident, and so we're just continuing this conversation. But I want to ask you guys first, as kind of like this, thinking about what Jesus is going through in chapter 8, have you ever been in one of those situations where you feel like you just have to keep repeating yourself because people don't get it?
Yes. All the time. I can let you go ahead first.
Yeah, I definitely get asked questions a lot, and it does get annoying. And at times it's like, well, do you just not care? Like, why aren't you getting it? Like, I've said it over and over and over again. I explained it multiple ways, and you're not getting it. Like,
Right. And I, as a parent,
Yes.
repeat yourself again and again and again, which is a part of their learning process, part of them better understanding. But I've noticed one of my boys, I won't name which one, has a tendency to ask the same question again and again and again. And I'm just like, why can't you get it?
Yeah.
I said, I already told you. But again, it's a part of his, there's lots of reasons psychology behind that. But sometimes it's challenging.
I was going to say, yeah, as a parent, you often do get those times where it's like you're repeating yourself over and over again. But, and sometimes I have to question myself because I think that I communicate well. But then I wonder sometimes if the questions keep coming because it's not so much on my communication, but their understanding just isn't there.
Right.
Right. And so sometimes you just have to say something in a slightly different way for them to get it.
Right. And I think sometimes people just need, saying it in a different way is a good way of putting it, but they just need a little more like, really? Is that really the case?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know that I really said anything there, but
No, but I get it. That they ask it again because they're like, "Are you sure?"
yes, yeah.
Which is a great description of what's going on in Mark 8, because in Mark 8 there's that question of who do you say that I am? And we talked about it on the weekend where the disciples come out with this profound statement, but then immediately after it, it's like they forgot. And Jesus is yelling at Peter and saying, get behind me, Satan, which is just a wonderful way to refer to somebody who's following you.
Right.
And it's not so much yelling, but just that chastisement that you just don't understand.
Right. Yeah.
So when you continue reading in Mark chapter 8, you get to this story here in verse 14 through 21, where he starts talking about the disciples had forgotten to bring any food, and they only had one loaf of bread with them in the boat. And they were crossing the lake, and Jesus warned them, "Watch out, beware the yeast of the Pharisees and Herod." And at this they began to argue with each other because they hadn't brought any bread. And Jesus knew what they were saying, so he said, "Why are you arguing about not having bread? Do you know or understand, or don't you know or understand even yet? Are your hearts too hard to take it in? You have eyes that can't see, you have ears that can't hear. Don't you remember anything at all? When I fed the 5,000 with 5 loaves of bread, how many baskets did you pick up afterwards? 12. And when I fed the 4,000 with 7 loaves, how many large baskets did you pick up? 7, they said. Don't you understand yet?" as we kind of read through that story, what jumped off the page at you guys?
One of the things that hits me is as a child, when I would read through the scripture and I'd read about the Israelites, I'd be like, I don't understand. God did such amazing things in front of them, and they'd forget. They didn't hang on to that. And I feel like history repeating itself here. Humanness, we forget what God has already done for us. We let go of that and just kind of get lost in the weeds and life that's bringing in all kinds of other distractions. And we forget God's able, and He's done it before, and He'll do it again.
Yeah. It makes me think of, it's actually in the Gospel of Matthew, but in Matthew 6, where He had to remind the people, don't be anxious about anything, because that's like our default setting. And even though God's done these amazing things, it's so easy to fall back into default. And just be nervous and anxious and just caught up in that. Is He going to do it? Is He not going to do it? Even though He's done it in the past. So.
Yeah, so the part that I was confused about was the watch out, beware of the yeast of the Pharisees and Herod. Like, I was with the disciples. I didn't get what that meant. And so I ended up having to ask Curtis about what that meant. And it was just, we have to be careful about what we put in our lives, because even a little bit can entirely affect the outcome of our lives. And so it was a good, I didn't get it. But now I see why he said that, because it was just coming out of him talking with the Pharisees.
It makes me think about a statement that actually you made when you were preaching. When you were talking about our tendency to read through and either put the disciples on this pedestal or we remove their humanness, or we just look at them and shake our heads and we think, how can you be so dumb? We are often in the same boat as the disciples. There are times that I've read through stuff and I'm like, I don't know what this means. I don't understand the significance of this, and it's okay to be in that place, and it's interesting because you feel like Jesus is really maybe frustrated here, but at the same time I think there's also this compassion that's coming through. I noticed that twice, like before it said that their hearts were too hard to take it in. It was when Jesus was walking on the water. Here they are in a boat again, and the same statement is being made. Their hearts were too hard, And I think it's just one of those that it's a nice way of saying they had thick skulls, like they just didn't get it, But we get so caught up in life, like you were talking about, and it just becomes overwhelming that sometimes we can't see what's right in front of us.
I think it's encouraging that the disciples, who we do often put on a pedestal, I too love that statement on Sunday, but I think it's good for us to know that they had thick skulls, that they struggled, and Jesus was right there in front of them, live, real time. And they're going to experience things that we've not experienced with Jesus physically with us, And so I think it's good to know that they were a little off.
Yeah. Well, I think it's that reminder that if He can use them, maybe I do stand a chance in all of my failures and faults and shortcomings. There's a realness about it that God isn't looking for perfect. He's looking for people who will follow Him. So how do you think, like right before this section, there's this interaction that Jesus has with the Pharisees and the teachers. How do you think that played into what we're seeing here in Mark chapter 8?
I love the part where it says, when He heard this, He sighed deeply in His spirit. Like, you just envision that as a parent or as a youth leader. They're just not getting it. You know, what else do I have to do? But he also is kind of like, he asked the question, why do you keep demanding a miraculous sign? And I want to think I wouldn't do that with Jesus, but I think I do sometimes. It's like, you got to give me exactly, this is what we're supposed to do. You know, like I'm not going to step out in faith. I'm not going to stick my toe in the water till I know.
Yeah.
That's not what he wants.
Right.
Yeah. No, and I think, you know, it's interesting, that side deeply. It's this beautiful reminder that he was human.
Yeah.
You know, and so he wants them to get it so desperately.
Yes.
And honestly, I think it's also this moment where you can see, like, if you've ever had one of those conversations that you have the conversation and then you walk away and it's just lingering still. I'm the type of person that sometimes I'll have a conversation and then as I drive home, I'm replaying the whole conversation thinking of what I would have said differently.
Yes.
And I wonder if that's part of what was going on with Jesus as he gets in the boat and he's replaying the conversation. And there's just this moment that he's like, he loves the disciples he's with.
Yes. Yeah.
And he has this compassion for them, and he's like, don't fall into that trap. Don't let this little bit of stuff like yeast that just can get into dough and completely change the dough. Don't let this little bit infect you.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Did you have any thoughts, Molly?
I just imagine him kind of what you said, just a little bit frustrated because it matters a lot to him. He wanted them to get it, and they're not, and it's like, oh, I need you to understand this is so important, and you're not.
Yeah.
And so I just imagine that frustration just like sitting in his chest, like, okay, we'll try this again.
Yeah.
And chapters 8 and 9 in Mark are kind of like this crucial turning point for the book. Because Mark is like introducing Jesus to the readers throughout the whole first part. But in 8 and 9, he's starting to really focus on, this is why Jesus came. This is who he is. And it's this idea of understanding that he was preparing for the sacrifice that would happen soon after this conversation. And I wonder if there were moments at which he was wondering, are the disciples ready for what's coming? Have I prepared them enough?
Which is so important for us to remember that we've got to be ready, you know, and he's given us some responsibility to draw closer to him and better know him, better understand him, better understand his word. Not that we're going to have it all together and know it perfectly, but he wants us to be ready, just like he wanted the disciples to be ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So, thinking then through this, and like an application part, what in our life causes us to be in the same place with the disciples, where we have Jesus right in front of us, but we doubt or we question or something goes on like that? What is it in our life that gets there, or gets us to that point?
Well, I think it depends on the person. Like, just about anything could make you doubt or question something or even forget it. Like, you get overwhelmed and it's out of your head, or somebody does something that was suspicious and you're like, oh, maybe this isn't correct. Maybe I did something wrong. And so it's just those little moments in life that you observe. It's really easy to fall into. I don't think it's hard. I think around every corner it's there. You just have to be very focused on Jesus to not fall into that.
Yeah, it's just kind of like the
yes.
daily things.
Yes.
You know, the disciples, they were just going about life. They were getting the boat ready. They were walking with them. They were traveling. And these daily things would cause them to forget that he fed 5,000 people, that he fed 4,000 people, that, you know, and he's looking at them and he's just calling that back to them, you know. And I love that he didn't just say, oh, you guys just don't get it, just go away. He gently reminds them, remember who I am, right? So, any final thoughts from you, Angie?
I sometimes my thoughts get a little scattered, so I want to make sure I'm on the right track. But it just reminded me of his time with Mary and Martha, and Martha's like frantic and like, make her help me. Like we've had those moments where we're prepping for something here, and not everybody's helping, or at home, and it's like, but and Jesus, his words to her were, Mary's chosen to draw near to me. That's the way that not that these things aren't good, they're good, but this is what I really desire, is to know you better and you to know me better. It's that daily that you said, like,
Yeah.
And honestly, if I'm not with him daily, I'm going to forget what he's done in my life.
Yeah.
And even when they were with him every day.
Right.
And they
Right.
forget.
Exactly. Yes.
But
yeah.
but he's there to remind us.
Right.
You know. So.
Yeah.
Well, I hope that you guys are continuing to work through the Revealed study, that you're just sitting there doing the chair time and the table talk and taking some time to really dig into the Gospel of Mark as he tries to introduce us to this Jesus that changed the world. And so encourage you, get together with a group or some other people, work through some of these questions, and just keep digging in and really spend some time this week wrestling with that question of, who do you say that I am?